Hello everyone, I am Mantas from EnovaPoint, and today we're going to be looking at Jungle Mail for Office 365. So we're starting off at the very first stage of creating your newsletter. Here you can fill in some of the most basic information such as the newsletter title, the sending account, the recipient source, and so on. So let's go ahead and start off by naming our newsletter. For this example, I'm going to name it something really simple like Weekly Newsletter. Just below that, we have the sending account, which seems to be correct, so we don't need to change anything here. And of course, the recipient source. Now, the recipient source that you choose will definitely affect the recipients column or usage of, let's say, different fields in mail merge, and of course, user targeted content retrieval. So if you are going to be working with any of that, if you're going to be dealing with that, just keep that in mind, that whatever you choose here will definitely have an effect. Now, the most popular options, of course, just sort of what I noticed, are probably Office 365, AD groups, and of course, distribution lists. So just as an example, if I wanted to send to our marketing list, I could go ahead and select this and just type in the name. Now, once I do that, you can see that down here at the bottom, the information actually changes, and I can see if whatever I selected is actually working. So in this case, it is, and I can see that I have 7 recipients in this recipient source. Now, one thing that I want to make very clear before we move on is that some people actually try and put distribution list emails right here under email addresses. And this is something that I just wanted to highlight because I think it's very important that's something you do not want to do, and I'm going to show you why right now. So you can see that we actually have this email address right here, and there are several recipients that would actually get emails if I sent it to this email address. However, it only shows that we have 1 recipient. Now the problem there is that it will still send to everyone like I mentioned before, but it would only count as sending to 1 person. And this causes problems along the way, especially when it comes to analytics. So if you want to analyze your results and see what happened, see how successful the newsletter was, and see how people interacted with it, then do not do this, because in the analytics tab, once you go check it out, it's actually going to be very problematic because you'll only get sort of information as if 1 person got it, but at the same time there would be, so many opens that it just wouldn't make sense, and honestly, you do not want to deal with that. So that's just something that I wanted to make real clear. Just do not use this option right here for distribution list emails. Any other emails that you want to send out to should be fine, and so you can go ahead and do that. Now right here, SharePoint list is what we're going to be using, so let's go ahead and select SharePoint list and click browse. So here we go. What we're going to want to do right now is select the list that we want to use. So for me that would be contacts, and let's go ahead and click select. Now you'll see that the information down here once again is going to change. So we have 22 recipients now, and of course if we applied additional exclusion filters right here, or just any filters up here, that number would change. So for example, if I filter based on list view, so for example only the people in EnovaPoint in this list, we have 12 in this case, whereas before if we select all recipients from this list, instead of 12, we add 22. So let's go ahead and use this and go on to the next step. So here we go to the layouts. Now the layouts are especially good for somebody who only wants to take some content, put it in, including text or images, and not worry about the layout. We do have 3 different options. So if you are, for example, just in a hurry, you can go ahead and put your content in without worrying about the layout and send out the newsletter. Now, if you do decide to actually save the template by going down here to the right hand side at the bottom and clicking template, save as template rather, then the templates will be saved right here under templates. And so as you see, we have the option to edit it, rename it, delete it. We can even check the previous versions of it if we want to. And of course, we can also publish to gallery. Now, this is something that not everybody's going to be able to do, but once you do that, once you publish to gallery, the newsletter template is going to appear right here under gallery. Now, the difference between templates and gallery is that the templates right here in gallery, they are not going to be able, people are not going to be able to overwrite them. So anything you save here is going to be safe, right? So you don't need to worry about anyone overwriting, because if anyone does edit one of these and then decides to save it and even clicks overwrite, it's going to save to templates, right? That's the only place where it's going to save. It's not going to affect the template here. So you can always come back and use this template, and this is especially useful if you want to set up a template for your staff to use and you don't want anyone messing with the design, with the content, or other parts of the newsletter. Now, I think that we've gone through almost everything. Of course, the drafts are sort of self-explanatory. You can save a draft right here at the right hand side corner. Again, save as draft. And I think, yeah, we probably covered everything here. So let's go ahead and start from scratch. We can also click the little arrow and choose drag and drop builder or rich text editor for HTML. But let's go ahead and start with just a simple drag and drop. So you can see that once I click on that, we start with a blank template. We have 3 sections that are already added, but they are completely empty except for this last one, which has a unsubscribe button inside. And if you want to delete that, you can just go ahead and click on the section and of course click delete. Now, another thing that you can do is save the sections. You can save any section in the email by simply clicking on it and then clicking save section. Once you save the section, it's going to appear right here under sections, and it's going to look like this. So then you can later just take that, drag it out, and pop it right into your email. Super easy and super useful if you ask me. So that's something that you can do. You can also save to gallery if you want to. Once again, clicking publish to gallery right here under save sections. As you see, I'm hovering over the button, and once I save that, it's going to be the same idea as with the templates. So you're not going to be able to overwrite that. Now here under default sections, these are empty sections that you can just drag and drop in like so, and then you're going to be able to add blocks, and each one has a different sort of layout. So it's going to allow you to fully customize your own emails, and it makes the process of designing and just putting in content a lot easier. So let's go ahead and delete a few of these. Now, if I want to move this, all I gotta do is go right here to the left hand side, click on that, and drag it over. Boom, and here we go. So we just kind of move that. So let's say I want to actually just say hi to maybe the person that I'm sending it out to. What's going to happen is I can actually use the recipient source. As I mentioned, it does affect the mail merge. So for example, in this case, let's go ahead and click here. And under content, what we're going to be able to do is select where it says first name right here. And let's just replace that with a placeholder right here. So let's go and find first name, and select insert. Right here under recipient and insert. So now the person that we're sending the email to is going to see their first name right here, right? Because that is actually a column in the SharePoint list that we're using. So let's go ahead and click save. All right, all good. So right down here, let's go ahead and add a block just to see how that works, right? So for example, we can drag in a subtitle block. Here we go. And you can play around with the padding. For example, I can see that it's a little bit too close to the top right here. So let's go ahead and edit that. Let's say 20. And for the bottom, let's say 15. Right? So we can go to content then. And for example, say maybe latest articles. So here we go. And let's go ahead and put that in the middle like so. Great. Now, one thing that you can also do if you don't want to play around with the padding is add a spacer. Just drag it in, and you can edit that as well. So you can increase the space if you want. You can decrease the space For me, I think I'm gonna stay around 35, so that seems good. And right here, we're gonna wanna add the articles. So first off, let's go ahead and just insert some blocks. So for example, right here, I want the image, maybe a subtitle block, and some text. So the idea here is that I'm going to have the name of the title, or rather the title of the article right here, a short maybe description right here, or maybe just part of the article, and then of course the article image here. So let's go ahead and first of all make the section dynamic, meaning that we can take content from SharePoint and just automatically insert it into our newsletter. Let's go ahead and click on the section, and right here under dynamic at the top here, we can click on enable SharePoint content. Switch this to on, and we can use the item picker, which allows you to actually pick out anything that you want. So for example, if we go to site pages where we have the articles, we can go ahead and pick anything out individually. Or if we don't want to use this, let's go ahead and click cancel. We can go to dynamic and just click select. So what that's going to do is it's going to pull out all of the articles automatically based on, you know, whatever you set up. So for example, here I can choose any of these list views. Currently we don't have anything that, you know, is important enough, so I can just put everything in. But for this, I don't want to have too many articles in this newsletter just for this example. So let's go ahead and use the item picker. And once again, we choose the site pages and just pick out what we want. So for example, we have inside our internal communication strategy and the 4 steps to more engaging internal emails. Sounds good. So let's go ahead and click pick up. And there we go. If we click process, what's going to happen is it's going to say, wait, there are no placeholders, which is absolutely correct, because the next thing that we want to do is actually add the placeholder. So we already have this here. We can save it, but it's not going to do anything until we add the placeholder. So we got to let Jungle Mail know what we want to be where. So for example, here, like I said, we want the title of the article. So let's go to columns, and not under recipient, but under dynamic section. In this case, right, because we want the information to come from the location that we set for the dynamic section. We want the title of the article. We want right here, we want to click on columns and links, and then we want to add the description. That's what we call the little, not summary, but little extract from the articles. And of course, browse for the image and click on this placeholder right here. So you may have noticed that there are different ways of adding the placeholders. For example, for the for this right here, for this block, all we had to do was go to columns here. For the text block, it's right here. And for the image, we didn't have, well, we can also go through here, but another way of doing it was just to click browse, or click browse here, and then of course select it from here, so we can see section, and we have the placeholder here. So all that information is coming directly from the columns of the article there. So everything seems correct. So now if we go to section and we click process, or we can also do that here, it should be working right now. So here we can see that it is working. Obviously, in this case, the images are sort of more horizontal rather than square. So you can add maybe square images, or maybe I could replace this and instead add this on the top like so. You know, or maybe just choose a different section and play around with that. But for this example, I think it's pretty clear what we're trying to do, of course. Let's go ahead and undo this. So let's go ahead and move everything back. And just to give you an example of how that would work with maybe different images, we can go to section and maybe pick out different items. So let's go ahead and delete these. Click add more. and maybe choose articles that have perhaps images that are not as, let's say, horizontals. For example, flower dome, new ways to self-generated targeted newsletters. Let's go ahead and click pick up and process. So here we go. We already see that that looks different. We can play around with the size, of course, because you can see that this one, for example, it kind of goes beyond the image. So maybe if I wanted to play around with the line height, I could do that, and maybe with the font size as well. So we have that at 12. Let's go ahead and set this to 12 as well, and maybe this as well. So let's go under style and play around with these settings. So we have that at 20 and 100 line height. Let's go ahead and even this out. So of course you can do this, you know, however you want. I'm just trying to make this sort of look a little bit better. So with the images, of course, we can also add some padding to the top, because I feel like we kind of need it here to give a little bit of more space. So it looks good, right? So that's the basic idea behind it. You can use these dynamic sections to actually pull out the information, you know, either automatically and just populate the email. There are ways to also target it based on users. So for example, if you have, let's say in a SharePoint list, right? So in a SharePoint list, let's say you have subscription topics, you can set it up so that each person only gets the articles related to the topic that they're interested in. So in this case, maybe the person would be interested in, let's just say, you know, what's happening around the world, and they're interested in something, you know, related to internal communications, right? So this is what they would be getting if we set it up that way. Now, the reason why we can actually, if we just go back and we can actually click process here, is because sometimes you want to make sure that everything, once it's processed, looks good. So when you click process and you see all the articles, you can see them, the layout, it's a lot easier to edit, and you can kind of be a little bit more confident about sending it out, because you can see that right now it's not processed, but if I went to preview, we can see that it is completely processed and everything's there. And you know, just to avoid mistakes, so that you don't have the problem of like sending it out and then noticing that, oh, you know, this doesn't quite line up and, you know, I can't fix it. You can go ahead and just process like we did. So let's go ahead and redo everything. So you can process it and just set it up like I have right here and make sure that everything is just how you like. Now, let's go ahead and go through some of the very basic editing options that you have here. So of course you have the different blocks. You have the HTML block, you have the social icons. So if I wanted to do that, I can go ahead and put that in right here. Of course, we can change the style of it, as in, you know, icon spacing and all that. We can also change the way that they look. So for example, if I wanted to look like this, here we go. I can add this and then simply just perhaps even bring it down to the bottom, right? So here we go. That looks good. Under style, let's go ahead and add a little bit more space, right? So we can play around with that. We can also add a video block. Now, a video block is something that is not always going to work. Sometimes it is not supported. So this is something that you can use at your own risk. All you got to do is really just drag it in, add video, and you can put in a URL. And once you put in the URL, you can actually use the same thumbnail that the video has, or you're going to be able to add your own. So let's go ahead and delete that for now. Now, all the other ones I think are pretty self-explanatory. We already used the subtitle, text, and image. The title, I guess, is just, you know, larger than the subtitle, so it's just for sort of quick editing. And of course, the button is something that you can, you know, set up yourself, like I did right here with see all articles. Currently, we do not have a link, so we just sending it to Google. But of course, you can set it up so you send them to all the other articles or wherever you want. You can edit the style to play around with it, to maybe make it, you know, a little bit more square. You can make it, you know, a little bit more sort of round. So as you see, as I'm editing it, it's becoming a little bit more, you know, square. So here we go. Right? Let's go ahead and make it 20. Here we go. Save. So that's very sort of basic stuff right there. Now, another thing that you can do is if you, for example, have several subtitle blocks, so you can see subtitle right here, subtitle right here, subtitle right here, and you want to edit them, but you don't want to edit them individually, you can actually go right here under design. And once you go there, you can go to subtitle, scroll down, subtitle, and you're going to be able to edit all of the subtitle blocks in the email. So for example, if I were to edit the background, I could go ahead and click this, and it's going to affect all of the blocks as you just saw. Right? So this is going to be the color that you used before, of course. Everything is, I think, pretty clear here. So let's go ahead and clear that now. We don't want to do that for this particular example. And yeah, you can do this for all these different blocks. You can edit all the buttons at once. You can edit the links. You can edit the spacer. Everything you can just, you know, edit it, and then maybe later on you can also override it. So for example, if I just do this again, choose, and I decide to edit this one, as you see, I can't overwrite that one, but all of these remain the same. So let's go ahead and choose this once again. Here we go. Fantastic. So I think that we've covered probably the basics of this. Now, another thing that I want to make very clear is before you actually send it out, pay attention to right here where it says subject and pre-header, right? So as you see, we already have different ones that we sort of use for our demos. So let's just say we have maybe your monthly news, or I think we actually made it weekly in the beginning. So let's go ahead and change that. Your weekly news, and of course the pre-header. Now this is something that the person, the recipient, is going to see as soon as they get the email. So you want to make sure that you do put something in that's catchy and of course doesn't seem too spammy. Now most people tend to use Jungle Mail for internal communication, so in that case maybe you don't need to sell it too much, but you still obviously need to pay attention to whatever you add here. So instead of pre-header being something really simple, just add something, you know, whatever you want that you think is going to be interesting to that person. So I'm just going to copy and paste this right here because I can't think of anything else, but you know, I'm sure that you're probably going to be able to add something that's going to be really eye-catching and hopefully get the person to click on it. So I think that everything here is more or less clear. So let's go ahead and go to the preview step. Now in the preview step, and we actually got here right here at the bottom, you can click next or just click on preview in the middle. Right here you can actually just have a look at what it will look like on the phone, what it will look like on their desktop, and see if everything is just the way that you wanted it to be. You can go through the different recipients as well. So here we see that the placeholder is actually working. We have hello Kirill, and of course right here at number 2 we're going to have Martin. So hello Martin, and number 3, and you know, you can go through all these and just check if everything is working. So hello Rob seems to be working. So this is going to be especially useful when you are sending out sort of content based on what people are, you know, let's say subscribed to, because you can then go and see if everyone is getting the emails that they want, and just sort of make sure that all of that is working correctly. Now another thing that you can do is send yourself a preview email. So you can add your email right here and click send, and you're going to be able to open that up and just see how it actually looks, and maybe, you know, tweak something if it doesn't look quite right to you. So for me, everything looks fine. I guess it's, you know, not the most amazing design work, but we did not, that wasn't the goal, I would say, right? So I think we're good on that front. But let's say we're ready to send this out. Let's go ahead and go to the last step. So right here, we can see that we have several different options. We can make this recurrent, which means that, it's going to send out every now and again. So for example, with these types of campaigns, you actually want to, with these types of actual newsletters, we want to make sure that we leave in the placeholders, because then the information is just always sort of renewed and sent out, as it should be. So, but in this case, we're not going to be using this. Of course, I'm just going to go through the different settings. We can choose, of course, the day. We can choose the time even, and even send it out monthly. And we have extra settings right here. So whatever your situation is, I think that you're going to be able to send it out exactly how you like. So let's go ahead and go to maybe specified time. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. You can send this newsletter at a specified time later on, so you can schedule this and have it send out automatically, or send it out now. Now, the time zone I think is pretty clear as well. But down here, all these options, this is something that I suggest you look into, and if you can, if you want to, you can definitely track your emails and, for example, see who read your email. Maybe you can see who has clicked on your email, or on the links in your email, or you can also go up here and of course get a report once the task is finished, aka once the newsletter is sent out. You can get a report to see if everything worked just how you wanted to. So everything looks fine to me, and we can go ahead and click send now. So once you send out your newsletter and you receive some opens, you receive some clicks, you can actually go to the analytics tab right here at the top, for example, and you can see how that went. So this is not the campaign that we just set up. This is not the newsletter, rather, that we just set up. This is something that I sort of set up beforehand. It's about a work trip. So let's go ahead and see how the analytics look. So we can click on that, and we can see that we have different types of information that we, may need to know. So for example, let's go ahead and add some total clicks and make the time range, instead of 7 days, 2 hours, right? So here we go. We can see that at different times we had, for example, 2 unique opens, 1 click. And then at this time, we, for example, had 5 total clicks and 1 unique click. And you can just sort of see that type of information to maybe know what how engaged the recipients are and what type of information they find interesting. So about the information, you can actually find that out right up here where it says top links or click streams. So let's go ahead and see top links. Now the top links allow you to see what links were, of course, the most popular and how many unique or total clicks they received when you sent out your newsletter. So we can see that this link right here, the EnovaPoint.com/blog, was the most popular when I sent this out, and we can see that the least popular one was one about internal email templates. Now these links could be, you could put that into a button, you can put that into an image. However you decide to use them, they will be tracked, and you will be able to see all the information related to the engagement with the content. So we have the overall click rate, and we can see what type of content was interesting, and we can compare it to, for example, whether it was a button or a picture, and see which one is more effective. So you can sort of play around with that to make your newsletters even more engaging. So now let's go ahead and check out the clickstream. Now the clickstream allows you to see these paths that the visitors take. So when the person clicks on this, we can see that they clicked on that, and then they decide to click on another link. And as they travel through all these different locations that we have in the newsletter, we can see how they go through the newsletter. So we can see whether they're going from the top and then make their way to the bottom, or maybe they're just clicking based on maybe the most interesting images, whatever it may be. You can go ahead and analyze that and see how they actually go through your newsletter to once again make it that more engaging. So let's go ahead and go back here. I just want to make sure that everything is clear here. So yeah, we can see that we had 0 errors, unopened. We have 2 unopened emails that we sent out, and we can of course see things like the devices that they used, and even the days and the times of days, the time of the day when it received the unique opens. So now let's go ahead and go to history and monitoring right here at the top. So what you're gonna have here is you're gonna be able to see the running or scheduled newsletters, as it says. At this time, we don't have anything because obviously this is sort of a demo environment, but you would be able to see anything that, for example, is scheduled for next week. So you can go ahead and stop that. You can sort of see what it contains, and you're just gonna be able to edit it however you like, right? So under regular, we do have the sort of history, all the ones that we sent out. So we can see one that we sent out, and we actually just saw the analytics for this one, the work trip, and you can look at things like the content. You can check out the recipients, you can copy it, and of course delete it if you want. And you also see the not only the time, but who it was submitted by, and of course the status. Now recurrent campaigns are going to appear here, or rather newsletter campaigns, they're going to appear here. You're going to be able to see all the recurring newsletters. You're going to see the completed ones right here. So these are going to be all of them. The rejected ones, we currently don't have any, but you will be able to see them and maybe fix whatever needs fixing. And of course the drafts. We have plenty, as you see, sort of just for experimentation. And let's see, we can see that me and Lewis, we were just sort of experimenting, and Andrew, and so we saved a bunch here. So it's always just for I guess, so all the little tests that you do on maybe just unfinished newsletters, you can save them to drafts. So everything here I think is clear. I hope that I explained everything well. If you do have any questions, please feel free to let me know. And yeah, thank you for watching.